Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning, Lori. How are you?
Doing great, Lauren. How are you doing? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm doing good. It's Wednesday, so I
Now,
always look forward to Wednesday mornings.
I always ask this to the parents in the audience. Are you close to having those children home and pulling your hair out? You're really
Ah,
close to that, aren't you? That,
yes, I'm already trying to enlist them all in something. Sign them up.
I noticed because schools let out at different times, and I'm in different areas. I notice I'm seeing a little bit more kids out and about. So I'm like, okay, they got their get out of jail free, and the parents are feeling like they're the ones in jail right now.
And so it's begun.
I know it's begun. Well, I'm so excited to be here today, so I will let you go ahead and just get us started.
All right, let's do it. So now everything should be all good. Can you see my screen okay, Lori?
Yeah, but you should never say now everything should be all good. That's going to make it where it's not. You know that, Lauren. You know that, right?
So true. That Murphy, I swear.
Exactly. That's that Murphy thing.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lauren Simpson. I'm with SBDC, or the Small Business Development Center. We're a national program with over 1,000 locations across the country, and we offer no-cost services to local small businesses. Now, our services are at no cost to you because your tax dollars have already taken care of our fees. For the Los Angeles network, we serve the Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. And the image in front of you, that map, shows our physical center locations. You'll see that we are in Camarillo, Santa Clarita, all the way over to Pasadena, out to Laverne, throughout Los Angeles, the South Bay, as well as down into Long Beach. Now take a really good look at this slide because this tells you exactly what it is that we can do for you. So we offer no cost business advising where you're able to sit for free. There's no fees at all, but you're able to book an appointment with one of our business experts and you can meet with them via Zoom or a phone call for now. And you can sit with people who have expertise in marketing, as well as if you're just starting out and you're looking to create a business plan, if you are looking to do market analysis, if you are looking to go from from handyman and now you want to be in construction, we have an expert for you. And if you are lucky enough, you can sit with our guru of all numbers, Miss Lori Williams, and she can get all your numbers together. Trust me, I know that they can be daunting and a little scary, but she works it out to where you leave that meeting and you are more confident than ever. And then we also offer virtual trainings, much like the comprehensive workshop that you've joined today. Be sure to get in contact with us today. We're excited to help you get started. You can reach us by phone, 866-588-7232, or online, smallbizla.org/new client. For those of you who have reached us and you're outside of the Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, or Ventura counties, please go to americassbdc.org/find your SBDC. So really quickly, I'm going to stop my screen share. And then would love for everyone who have questions, please put those into our Q&A. Just questions in the Q&A. That way Lori's able to see them and we can make sure you get the answers you're looking for. And then the chat will be reserved for the good mornings that I see Emma has dropped in there. Good morning to you, Emma, as well as any kind of commentary you guys have related to the show. And then of course, any useful links that Lori would like to share with you. So with that, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to pass it over to Lori for an awesome show. Good morning, Lori.
Lauren, thank you. And I'm going to add something to what you were talking about, our resources, because we never quite mentioned this, and it dawned on me we should. And that is the ACT team. That is the Access to Capital team. And if you're looking to get a loan or wondering if you can get a loan or needing some introductions or needing somebody to go over your numbers, that's an incredible team we have. And they've just gone through an updated training on 504s, which is about getting money to buy commercial buildings, etc. So they're an added resource that we probably should mention more than we do. So I wanted to add that. And also I wanted to mention, you said hello, Emma. Emma is coming back on the show end of June. I wanted to give a highlight on that. So for today, I got a couple things for you real quick before we get started here. I'm going to start this new, I'm going to call it a series, a sequence. I figure, okay, I'm not going to talk about, taxes. I've talked about taxes quite a lot. You're probably done hearing about taxes. So I'm going to start a new series that I'm going to talk about at the beginning, and I'm calling it my Myth Busters. I'm going to take one sentence. I'm going to discuss that one sentence. And if you guys need more information or didn't quite get it and you want to say, hey, Lori, talk to me about it some more, you can either let Lauren know and she'll reach out to me and we can have a discussion one-on-one, or just even in the chat, let Lauren know and I'll bring it up the next time and delve into it a little bit more. Okay, this is a myth buster, guys. I hear people say this all the time. It takes several years for a company to be profitable. This is not true. Let me tell you where this came from. It's like many things in life. They were true at one time. They're true in some circumstances or situations, but then they've been created to be perceived that they're always true. And that part is where it's incorrect. Okay. So where that originally came from is what I'm going to describe as heavy asset-based companies. So what do I mean by that? I want you to think back several decades ago now, when a company's getting started and they're having to buy plant, property, and equipment. It's called PPE. They're having to maybe lay pipe, get a big factory, get a conveyor belt. Imagine that, okay? There's these big plants. Well, they're investing so heavy in the assets to get started that it's going to take them very long time to get where they can take enough widgets on that conveyor belt to make that widget finally be profitable, okay? Now, that didn't mean that the owners didn't get paid. They borrowed money to pay for the assets. They were still making money through the company. And so that's the other combined myth that, well, it takes a while to pay an owner. Where I'm seeing this is I had somebody give you an extreme example to explain. They're a consultant, they're working out of their home, and they go, well, you have to be can't be profitable for a couple of years. I'm like, if you can't be profitable pretty much within the first month, you need to get out of there, okay? You're just a consultant. You don't have the overhead. So many companies can be profitable by day one. Maybe some of them that are investing in finished goods and reselling may take a while to ramp up their sales. But this concept that it takes years, I have people all the time believing that. And I look at the financials and I see there's no way they're ever going to be profitable. Their cost structure is not properly in place. So do not apply it takes several years for a company to be profitable. Instead, each company's business model must be analyzed independently to see when it should be profitable and make sure it's making proper decisions to hit that target. Okay, that's my myth buster for today. Upcoming classes, Lauren put that into the chat. And also upcoming shows. I have Andrew coming back on Work Better Now. I'm calling this the futuristic company because it's really got a cool business model where he's kind of connecting freelancers to do the work with clients and using freelancers from in other countries even. So it's fascinating to learn about. Then I've got Nadia coming on, which is a nonprofit legal service agency. First time I have a lawyer coming on, so that's pretty exciting. And Elaine Rodriguez, she was on some time before. She's a managing partner at List Ventures. I love her just inspiring spirit, talking about what's happening in the entrepreneurial fields, what she's seeing in the industry. She's going to share some more of her insights. So that's what we got coming up in the near future. Now, today is pretty exciting, and I can see that Randi has joined us. I know she was having some problems getting there. So if you're here, Randi, let me go ahead and introduce you. You're here. So Randi is an entrepreneurial cosmetologist. I love that description. Entrepreneurial cosmetologist and beauty supply owner of Unique Textures Beauty Supply in Los Angeles. Now, this is in Randi's own words. I had to just read what Randi wrote to me. This past year and a half, she has been able to assess and attempt to grow her company with the help of SmallBiz Talk. Being a frequent flyer has given Randi the opportunity to have better organization, awareness, comprehension, and effective communication. Welcome, frequent flyer Randi, back to the show. So good to see you this morning, literally. We almost were just hearing Randi. See Randi.
Exactly. There's a couple of Randis. Good morning.
Randi's. Well, Randi's experiencing construction in her area right now. So Randi may be here. I may teach basket weaving if Randi disappears.
Exactly.
And it comes back.
Absolutely.
The new thing, this is my new mode of operation. I'm not going to be a slave to technology. When it's working, I'm in. When it isn't, I'm gone. I'm no longer being stressed about it. And I'm inviting everybody else to not be stressed about technology either, because it's ridiculous that we think we can control it, amongst other things, which we're going to talk about today, Randi. But first of all, let's talk about your company. What did you start it? I don't even know. You've been at this game for a while, I think. What was the inspiration?
Well, not that long. So I've been a hairstylist, a cosmetologist for several years, a couple of decades. Not that the looks show that, but it has been a while. So during the before the pandemic, I wanted to do something else. And so a friend of mine introduced me to the SBDC. And so then we had the pandemic, and I had to figure out, well, if I can't physically work with people, how can I, maybe I can do sales. Everybody's still buying shampoo, conditioner, color, the whole thing. You had to go home and do it. So I thought sales might help the pivot, or even give me some work with this transition of the pandemic. So I have been open for a little over a year. February 5th this year made it a year, but I started everything in September. So what are we in, 2023?
Yeah.
2022, something like that. Whatever the year and something of September was, that's when I started. So I opened 6 months after I just started everything. And that was, that took a long time, because I didn't anticipate no product, no furniture, all of those things to do with the pandemic. So now I have the store.
During the pandemic, as with many companies, but hair salons and stylists and stuff, they took a big hit that I am still seeing many not able to recover. Those that have retail and they had a lot of booths and the people didn't come back, customers as well as the stylists, they're still really struggling quite a lot. And my heart goes up to them, because I have a lot of clients from that. But the one thing, Randi, that I know from working with you, as I've had the luxury of working with you, as well as getting to know you personally, I would say you come under a definition that I personally say is one of those people that is a survivalist. I see myself as a survivalist. I'm like, okay, get mad.
What are we gonna do? Let's do it. Yeah.
I would always say, I still say it to my cat. I'll tell you how I say it to my cat, but I would always say this throughout my life. I go, well, I'm still breathing and I got to eat. So I'm going to have to figure something out. And I just, and I
smile and go.
Yeah, I wake up in the morning and everybody knows my cat Babu, and I say, hey, Babu, we're still breathing. What are we going to do today? Let's make something happen, So I seem to have this whole thing in my life around whether I'm breathing or not. And so far, I haven't been able to say I'm not. So I'm just learning how to deal with I am. So of that challenges, Randi, there's so many, but what would you say, you talked about getting products and stuff, but what other things do you feel as though have been your challenge as a small business? Because I bet you're going to have people in the audience that will be able to resonate with what you've seen as well.
Well, I think the biggest thing with being a small business is something we talked about in one of your sessions, having to find vendors that you don't have to buy 9 million. You don't have to have a higher quantity. So you really have to seek out those distributors or vendors that allow you to get a half a dozen, less than a dozen pieces sometimes, because you don't know if they're going to sell. You don't know if that's going to be a part of the market, even though it's on every advertisement or on Instagram or whatever. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to sell. And I have a few products that, it's very popular on TikTok and what have you, but So I think being able to, really just stay small and figure out what your market wants. And, that's just doing your homework. It's a lot of homework. You just have to do your homework and find people or businesses that will work for you. So it's not necessarily always about Google or asking another business owner, because some business owners don't even do it. And that's what I learned too. I had to start asking people, do you do this or does somebody do it for you?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we're not having the same conversation here. You're telling me something to do, but you may not understand what the person is doing who's doing it for you. So what you talked about, Mythbusters today, there's a lot of myths that float around. And I think sometimes if you get caught up in those myths, that will hold you back, because it will kind of stagnate you because you're following this myth. And then when you get here, you're like, now that has nothing to do with me, or that's not even true.
Yep. I'm really glad you said what you said. There's two things I want to break down and bring back up to the surface. When you talked about getting someone, a vendor, to be able to sell you a product and sell it in a smaller quantity, that is so true. And what I see a lot, and I'm always telling people, no, 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 no. They look at it like, I'm starting out. If I buy this volume, I get it for less. So buying something for less is valuable, and that's the way I should go. And that's their thinking. And then I have to bring them back and go, you have to think cash flow, because if you buy X% less, a discount on this, and it's sitting in inventory and you can't sell it, your cash flow is sitting there. So you would be better off making a little less profit until you get to a point and have that cash flow. I'll never forget this one time. This is back in 2008 or something like that, when I was a banker. There was a company that invested in all this inventory and had finished goods. They ran out of cash. I couldn't even do a bank loan because they turned it all into finished goods, and we can't do a bank loan on it. And they went out of business with no cash flow to pay for the payroll with all this stuff in inventory. And so it's in business, there's so many decisions that need to be made where you think of all the variables. And one last thing that you brought up that I love that you said is the fact that you're kind of asking other business owners, but they may not know. And it's kind of the blind leading the blind. And this is even true. I hate to say it, but I'm just, I'm always being very honest with things.
Be real.
Of a lot of, you and I talked about this, a lot of tax people in the small business world and a lot of business consultants in the small business world. Guys, if I didn't go, and I call it leave the tribe, go become a CFO in this big world and the banker and deal with this. And then, I've always been of the ilk of a small business, come back into my tribe, I wouldn't know the stuff I'm saying, because I wouldn't have left the tribe to learn to come back. And so the small business advisors are advising within the little world of myths as well. And you got to get to know that the myths are myths. Otherwise, it's truth. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
And, so I don't want to miss us talking about this, because I find it personally funny too. I don't know why, but I do. But I want to make sure we go over this. And this is your list of SKUs. I know. So guys, let me tell you what I'm talking about. So Randi went through the Black Business Strategies group, right? Am I correct on that? That you had gone through? That's how I originally met you?
Yes. Well, I started. That's how I learned about the 3-step, the group, the strategy group. I learned about it through SmallBiz Talk.
Okay, that's what I thought. I wasn't sure on that. So anyway, when I started working with Randi, I asked Randi, like I always do you know your gross profit margins? And she's like, oh, no. And I go, well, we got to look at your gross profit margins per product. And like many people said, she goes, well, I got a lot of SKUs. You can't. And I'm like, no, you can and you must. The more SKUs you have. So Randi's going to have to tell us in a second how many. I just remember there was a lot, guys, but she did her work. She gave me this Excel sheet that had the sell price and the cost, and I ran all of the formulas to identify the gross profit per SKU, because I had a belief that she was probably selling a certain amount of her products at a gross profit that was not acceptable, and this is the only way you know. So take the story from there, because I think our audience, I know they hear me talk about it all the time, so let's hear somebody who experienced it, because Randi, to be honest, when I'm talking with clients, I use your story as an example when I'm trying to emphasize to them the importance of this, because I think it took us several meetings, right? You did a lot of work on your end, but when we got there, what we learned was, to me, extremely important. So I'm going to let you take it from there now and tell the story in your words.
Okay. So real quick, just to say, before reaching out to Lori. I have this grand POS system. It's called Lightspeed. I enjoy it, and it's supposed to help you know everything. Okay, you're supposed to know, just press of a button and you know it. And so when she asked me about the profit margins, I know what the POS was telling me, but I knew something was wrong, and I didn't know what was wrong, but I knew something was wrong. So actually, I had all of my information on the spreadsheet, but it was a little in disarray. So Lori just looked at it and was like, well, what is this? And I said, oh, that's that. She said, and I can see it moving. And she was just lining stuff up, lining all the information up as she asked me what it was. It wasn't that I didn't have the information. I just had it how I thought I knew how it was supposed to be. And so after we lined it up, she did 3 or 4 clicks, and then it popped up with all of my, I had all of my inventory categorized by vendor. And so she just went in, put a cute little formula in, and on all of them, it just said, voila. And so most of my profit margin was about 40 to 45%. She was like, okay, that's a little healthy. Well, there was this one vendor where it was like 23%. And she was like, what? What is this? And I was like, oh, I knew it. I knew that it wasn't going to be anybody that I worked with again, but I didn't know what it was supposed to look like to say why I wasn't going to work with him again. So after she had her heart attack and couldn't believe that it was just that slim of a margin, I got the understanding of the importance of profit margin. I'm not going to make anything off of this. I'm just going to make my money back, and that's going to be it. So that doesn't pay for the store. That doesn't pay for the POS system that's supposed to tell me the profit margin. Because if I didn't have Lori, I wasn't going to know the profit margin, because it was still going to be wrong because of maybe however I inputted something, or I didn't put a decimal, or I didn't put a comma. I don't know, but it was wrong. And so I was able to take what we did, and it was 694 or 74 SKUs.
Yeah.
And I was able to, because it was already categorized by vendor, I was able to just go itemize each thing on the POS system, and then it finally started to match. So that is how that's how we started, and that's how we were able to even just start answering questions and start understanding what decision making is important and what a decision is. If you don't know what a decision is, it doesn't, how are we making a decision? How are we discussing a decision? We don't know. So that
true. Yeah, I love that. I love that with the word decision, because I always talk about, knowing your numbers allows you to make better decisions within your company. And most people are not making decisions based on anything financial, which people have heard me say, every single thing within your business first starts with finance. And in Randi's case, which is true in many cases, a lot of times it's not that people don't have the data, and they actually, even worse, they have the data and they have a belief that they're following it and analyzing it. But it's like I always explain, it's the alignment. And I always say, if you have a few numbers and you didn't have a calculator and you were told to subtract them, you would line up the decimal points. If you were told to multiply it, you'd make it flush right. So it's not the numbers, it's the alignment of the numbers that allows the analysis, the subtraction and multiplication to give you an answer. And so that's what small companies don't understand, that CFOs know. It's how to align them to get them to talk, to speak to you, to tell you, hey, look at over here, we need a better decision. And in Randi's case with her gross profit margin, there's no right or wrong gross profit margin. People always ask me, what is a healthy gross profit margin? And the correct answer to that is one that covers your expenses and leaves you money left over for yourself and for reinvestment. So if you've got very low expenses, a gross profit margin of 20 could be fine, but that's usually, starting out pretty low. But it's really about the entire cost structure, which is the whole alignment. And that's what we learned with all those SKUs. And it was interesting because you had one vendor that was just kind of the outlier because you were okay on the other ones, but this one vendor, and you had no idea, and it always happens. And it's not, I always think how ironic, but there's probably a reason for it. The ones that sell the most are the worst at the gross profit. You're probably selling them the most because they're buying them cheaper from you than any of the competitors. And so they're like, oh, this is a great deal, but it's to your demise, really.
Yeah. And, and that's another thing. I'll just say with pricing, since I'm downtown, I get to see an eclectic group of individuals. Some individuals are, they're rich. Okay, they're Rolls Royces, they're $700 sneakers. They're rich, but they will haggle me for a $5 tub of gel. So and I'm like, wait a minute. Wait, and I walk around, there's a Target, there's a CVS, there's two other competitor, which I don't believe we're competing because we have different stuff in our stores, but I do go sniff around. And I'm like, I'm actually quite fair. So that's a hard thing too, because I think that individuals in their stores, if people are haggling them, and it could be a whole bargaining mechanism, it could be anything, but people start to feel like, oh, well, maybe I'll go down, or maybe I won't try as much, or maybe I'll do 2 for $5. No, look at the people around you. And even I did Amazon. I did even a price check with Amazon, and I'm like, oh no, you guys think you're slick. And so I think you said this before, you have to watch the market, and you have to just go up on your prices, or, do certain things. And if you want it, you want it. If you're rich, you're going to buy it. And that is something that being able to look at the profit margin, because products are going up. So when I see that something's gone up 11 cents, I'm like, well, what margin change? How much is it now? Oh, it's 43. Well, we have to add 11 cents. And we're just going to do it like that. If I got charged 11 cents, you're getting charged 11 cents. But I wouldn't have been able to see that or understand that or scale that without the right alignment and that funny little calculation that you did that just made it all appear.
Well, what happens, and I see it all the time, Randi, is when you are being asked a lower price and you have no understanding of the parameters, the benchmarks, where you need to be, it's an emotional decision. And the emotion usually that's underlying, unfortunately, is fear. Okay, if I don't lower my price, they're not going to buy. And if I don't make a sale, I'm not going to have any money. And there's so much untruth to that, because for many times you make a sale at that amount, you just paid the customer to buy from you. And it's knowing it. And what I find is that when people start using Excel documents, just that's what I use. It could be a crayon and a piece of paper. But when they know their margins, it allows them to stand firm, because they recognize now that if they sell lower, they're hurting themselves. And I've talked to several people that said, well, I can't sell at this price. And suddenly they are. And I go, how are you able to? They go, well, once I understood, I would look at the Excel document and I would see that it was really a dumb decision for me to agree to sell. So I say no.
Yeah, and it's quite clear. Okay. I mean, it is. And again, you can, we can have our money, we can exchange, we can do an exchange, and it looked like you said this several times, and it looked like you have money in your pocket or your hand. But then when you put each dollar in the category that it needs to go, and your hand is empty, and it's like, well, if I knew my numbers, maybe I would have something in this hand after giving, everybody else their share. I'm talking about, your lease, just your overhead. You have to put each dollar in that piece of overhead, and
Yep. I always refer to it, and you've heard me say, be more tired and more broke. Years ago, at least a decade ago, because I've been interim CFO for several different size companies, and this company was about 10, 15 million. And they had a bunch of government contracts that they were in love with, right? And they were not profitable. They were not good for them. And so I kept trying to tell the CEO, we need to not do business with this one public company. And he'd been in business with them, and it looked good, and it made him proud and everything. So I couldn't convince him. So one day I walked in with a check for $10,000 and asked him to sign it, and it was made out to his customer, right? So he's like, why are we writing a check to 10,000? I said, well, I've looked at the numbers so much and I realized it would be cheaper for us and we would save money and we would do better if we asked them not to buy and just paid them $10,000 rather than lose 20. And after that, he quit the contract. It was like that wake up when I was like saying, well, I'd rather give her 10,000 and say, don't buy from us than lose 20,000 because I don't have the extra 10,000 to lose. And it really brought things home. And, you know, being in a business owner, and this is a place we'll go next, it is, I mean, I've been a, you know, business owner pretty much my whole life and been in other companies as well. It is challenging emotionally and there's unknowns. That part is true. But where it gets extended into being not true is when people believe every decision within the company is of that emotional unknown basis, and they make it out like they're working in the company, driving the company blindfolded. And when I try to get people to understand, no, you get a lot of information and then you don't have a crystal ball, so you are in the future, but basically 3/4 of the decisions are known and you can forecast them and you can have a good vision. No, but different than if I set out to drive to New York from California, I may not know all the weather conditions and everything, but I'm going to know 3/4 about my route, my experience before I get in the car. 1/4 I can deal with, but it's, you know, people are trying to take it where they get into the car with no knowledge whatsoever and they believe that there is no knowledge to be in existence. Have you noticed that with small companies, that they just don't even realize that they can be making decisions with knowledge? They think everything's blind.
Well, first of all, that car ride that you're talking about, I noticed that a lot of small business expect that car ride to be in a Bentley or Rolls Royce or Maserati, first of all. And so what I see is that people believe that small business owner or entrepreneur is automatic wealth. And so I'm serious. Like, I've had people say to me, you know, don't you just love being an entrepreneur? And I'm like, well, if I wasn't the hustler that I am, and I mean, and I'll veer off for just a second, something that you said when I was first on the show, when we looked at my numbers and you shared and I was like in agreement, what we talked about, I needed to amp up my services. The product, the beauty supply was not going to sustain the big picture. So, you know, we can sit here and twiddle our fingers or you can comb some hair. So that was a reality check, like, oh no, I'm not just part-time over here. I'm about to be full-time. and that's how I'm gonna make my money.
Another quote for the chat: we can twiddle our fingers or comb some hair. Guys, I told Randi she can't make enough money on the product. She needed to get her butt fat, cutting some hair and selling some business. And that came from the hilarious twiddle our fingers or we could actually cut some hair.
Yeah, no, and that's just it. So where I see, going back to the illusion of believing that, you know, entrepreneurial, and that's the term, like you said, entrepreneurial or small business owner is wealth. I just see people just visioning themselves with their scarf around their, you know, their hair and their shades on, and they're riding down the street. You do that, and he's on my payroll, and we're having tea. We're going to lunch. So that's what I see. And then they're like, I don't have any money. The economy is bad. Nobody's buying my stuff. And I'm like, well, you spent it all cruising down the street being a business owner. So that's more of what I see. And I find that people, you know, they're like, oh, I want to do this and I'm going to quit my job. And I'm like, quit the job. How many clients do you have? Do you have a client? And they're like, no, we're going to do a photo shoot. And we're going to pass out flyers and we're going to, you know, have a mixer and I'm going to quit my job. And I'm like, okay, well, who's going to pay for the photo shoot? And how are you going to pay for the mixer? Yeah. And where, like, what? So I just think that it's just the idea, the look of it. You know, some people make stuff look easy and a lot of people are looking at a lot of crooks. So, you know, we saw a lot of the PPP stuff and, you know, people finding out that people are having to pay their money or getting arrested because they looked flashy. They looked like a business owner. They looked rich. And I think that if people know that it's you have to be diligent. You have to have a lot of tenacity. You have to roll up your sleeves and, entrepreneurship, leave those tears in the shower. Okay. Buck up. So, when, people think, well, nobody's telling you, nobody, go look, go see, go find. Because that's what entrepreneurship is. You having to be everything, and you have to also, again, with Small Biz Talk, me being able to hear everybody and like, okay, that makes more sense. I can go that way, or let me go check this out. I found out a lot of stuff on here, and I'm able to take a peek, being curious to know what it is, or what I'm hearing, or what I'm seeing, or what I'm smelling, or what I'm feeling. Go take a peek and then come back, and it either is for my business or isn't for my business, but not the look of my business.
I love what you just said. Once again, spot on. I think that especially, I hate to say it, but especially in the LA area, it's about a Hollywood, it's about a look. And I see so many people that, and you have this bit where you almost have to brag a bit just to be accepted in that world. I know, coming from a small country town, I had to learn to change my way of being, because I was like, well, the beans may grow. I think, though, I couldn't be that way. I had to, be this certain bragging. And, I see a lot of times what happens is people are out bragging about their company, but then I look at their numbers and go, okay, we don't have bragging rights.
You're a liar.
But what happens is others are comparing themselves against, they don't have the advantage of seeing the numbers, right? So they're comparing themselves against others, and then they feel bad, like they're doing something wrong, when in essence, and here's the point I want to make, everybody in the audience, here's the point I want to make. Randi, spot on with what she's saying, and I'm not leading you down a road where you fall off. What I'm saying is that if you get more real and you get rid of the Hollywood, you can successfully grow a very lovely, enduring company, little by little, where you get enough money to pay your bills, have discretionary income, have a lifestyle, play ball with the kids, whatever. It's this buying into this. We got to buy inventory. We got to be an overnight success. We're going to sell our products worldwide. We're going to get investors. When you buy into the hype, you're not making the little incremental decisions to grow solid. And so in some ways, I'm going to come full circle. Growing up on the farm and knowing you had to plant those bean seeds, and then you had to water and fertilize them, and then you pick the beans. Believe me, I know this world. I did it with my grandpa, put them into the bushel, went down to the farmer's market, right? And I'm not kidding about this. I'm not making this up, guys. My grandfather, I'm all German, right? Really, really, like, stout German, right? Somebody would come up and say, I think our beans were for sale for $2 a bushel, because I remember being like 8 years old and I was the loud announcer. $2 a bushel, $2 a bushel, right? And somebody would come up and tell my grandfather and go, I'll give you $1.75. And this is what my grandfather's words were. I can still hear it in my ear. Stop by a damn sign. That's what he would always say. My point is, these small companies, these small farmers, these small little people in the country, they knew how to grow companies incrementally. They didn't have the hype. And so what I'm doing is I'm inviting these entrepreneurs to come back into the reality of being an entrepreneur and the loveliness about it. Not saying it's a bad deal, saying it can be a wonderful deal if you take it for what it is.
And not what you want it to be, or what you vision that, like you said, what society has said it is. You can't have the Maserati. You can have all of that stuff. I'm not saying that you can't have it, but that's not stepping into it. That doesn't come with the title. It just doesn't. You pay for your freedom. We have a lot of freedom, but it costs. So, I don't know. I just think, but I feel like, though, when you have this idea of what it should be and how glamorous it should be, then when it's not that, it's like, you have a dark cloud over your head, it's the world is over, what happened, it's failing, I'm failing, and this and that. And it's like, no, just, come back, come back and reevaluate, go or work part-time, comb some hair like I have to do, so I mean, being realistic, I think, allows a lot less emotional distress.
I fully agree with you on that. And I look at throughout my business world, because when I got to California, I totally bought in myself, especially being this little country girl. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be, like everybody else. And that's what made me go into banking and investment banking, only to find out, well, that world just doesn't resonate with me. I'm not saying anything against it. It just didn't resonate with me. But when I came back centered to who I am and created my company based on what I needed to be about, not what I thought I needed to be about, I found true success. And true success meaning it was the blending of my life, my desires, my financial needs, all that. I can remember back to that day that I sat down, Randi, and I literally said in my head, I looked up at Hollywood Hills, nothing against them. This is about me personally. And I said, I don't even want a house on the hill. Why am I doing all this, trying to achieve this? And somebody said to me later, they go, you have really succeeded in your career. And I would say I have. I've done really well, and I'm extremely happy and lucky in it. But my answer to them was, I didn't achieve. I gave up. I gave up on all of the hype and just stuck my head down and worked and found good clients. And that's what I did.
And that's it. It's like, I feel like I get to talk to a lot of people, and I hear a lot of people saying, what they feel like they need from someone else, or what something should be giving to them. And I ask people a lot of times, what do you want? Like, seriously, do you really know what you want? Like, if you really, we all talk about having a seat at the table. And I read this book and leading into what I was just saying. And at the end of the book, it said, now, after giving all the examples of what it took to be at this table, then the question at the end of the book was, do you really want a seat at the table? And so I think sometimes we have to be real with, and that's why I say, be a little curious, be a little nosy, look around and see what's at the table, see what's collectively there, or that area that we're dying to be in, that group, that popularity, that social club. Go in there and you might see, you might see the boogeyman, and you run out, okay, scared. And you were dying to get over here. You were fighting and you were crawling at the eyes to get to this group, and you get there and you're like, oh my God, I gotta go. And so you put a lot of energy there, and then you think, oh, well, that was worthless or whatever. And it's like, no, just really seriously, what do you want? And it's not about everybody else. And looking in someone's window or looking at someone's test paper, they may not have the answer. And it may not be really how glamorous it looks in the reflection or in the illusion of that glass.
Yeah.
So, if you can just say that, what you want, you can start,
and
not wanting. Sorry.
I completely agree. And that's why, like I said, I love having this conversation with you, Randi, because I recognized early on when I first spoke with you that you're one of these people that are very inspirational without trying to be. You're just being yourself, right? And I think if there's one thing for me personally that I learned during the pandemic, and it was just a way to confirm the direction I'd been heading, is that it's time to really wake up and determine what do we want, and to embrace and engage and get excited about the ability to be creative and the flexibility. Technology is there giving us the flexibility to kind of put out these, I got to take over the world, I got to be the richest, I got to sell my company to somebody else down the road, and realize that you can be so creative, you can do all these things, and you can find freedom and safety within yourself. And I've been telling people lately, I've been saying this line, I said it on SmallBiz Talk a couple weeks ago, your company does not make you money, you make yourself money. And when you take that inside and realize it's the skill in me, it gets you not so attached to this business model, realizing that if this one isn't financially feasible, this great being can create another business model that will bring you what you want. But like you said, you got to first know what you want. So I think being an entrepreneur for the right mindset and the right person is a fabulous experience, as long as you recognize that it maybe isn't what Hollywood's going to tell you it is. Would you say that's kind of in line?
No, I think that's absolutely correct. I hear a lot of narratives, everybody's goal should be the boss. And I'm like, well, everybody, the boss needs some employees. Like, what are you talking about? Everybody, what? And like, that sounds, outlandish to me, but
I
so
don't even
who-
hear that too. There is no logic. Everybody should be the boss. That means, okay, it's not even logical because 82% of the companies within the United States are run and owned and operated.
employees,
I know.
girl. If people feel like already as an entrepreneur that all the stuff that is piled on them is too much, think about the rest of it. If being the boss, like I don't want to. And we talked about that during tax season. So just to hit on that, you realize that you do want to grow to hire people. You do want to be able to have this umbrella of success in whatever the business is, but you have to know what is going on to even get to that. So again, before we can, be what society says to be, we have to know what each area entails and how to hire out or how to know to back away. And that is all in the universe of entrepreneurship, and not again being distracted about what it could be or what success is because you're flashing all this stuff.
Yep, it does. And so I think that, like I said, there's two sides of the coin as always. And one side is it's really fun. I mean, I could not imagine not being an entrepreneur because I love having control of my own destiny. I love having the freedom. And it really started for me having worked for a couple small companies at the beginning, and they went under. And I said, if anybody's going to go under, I'm going to know I'm going to have my own destiny. So having your own destiny, your own control, making your own decisions, fabulous, love it. That means I don't really take as much time off as other people that are employees. I probably would make money being an employee. I would have more benefits, technical benefits as an employee. But for me, those things don't matter because I have enough being an entrepreneur, and all those other things are so valuable and treasurable to me. So that's the truth about entrepreneurship. It's good, bad, and ugly, but you can have information to make better decisions if you research it.
And if you're not emotionally controlled by your movements, by your decisions. So all of that you said, I'm the same way. I enjoy my own control. And, but, we pay for that control. It's an a la carte life of control, of payment. But I feel like sometimes when you can't get hold of your emotions or be realistic, that's not really control. You're not in the control that you think you are as that entrepreneur. And sometimes that just needs to be reevaluated and maybe, be something like we talked about in several episodes ago, being a micro entrepreneur, where you kind of take some of that load off, where you have medical, you have that, just in case, whatever, you have that over here. So you can do that 25, 30 hours over here and do the rest of your time over here where you flourish, where you feel free, where you feel passionate. But you have to make a non-emotional decision and be able to look at it and make that decision.
Absolutely. I'm going to hand it back to you for the final words. Mine there's many, many roads to being an entrepreneur, and each decision, when looked at analytically and financially for feasibility, it becomes very clear. And entrepreneurship is sometimes scary and exciting, but the more that you can embrace numbers and understand how to do analysis, the more control you have and the more chances of succeeding. And if you want to know more what I'm talking about, get with my financial literacy, get with Lauren to get in touch with me, because knowledge is power. It brings comfort, it brings clarity, and that yields success once you, as you very well put, Randi, know what you want. So I'm going to pass it back to you. Thank you for being here today. Any words you'd like to leave with the audience?
I appreciate being here, and I thank you for everything. My frequent flyer family, I'm so honored to be a part of the family, because I feel like we have been able to learn and share and just pass around so much stuff because it can get a little foggy out here. It can get foggy outside of our home. So just to say, just stay strong and realistic. That's what I'll say. Strong and realistic. Everything else will come after that.
Put that in the chat. Strong and realistic. And that's the quote from Randi. That is truth. So Lauren, I'm going to invite you again. I saw that there was a question about my grandfather's statement, and here I typed it. I'll give you that, what he said. Now, keep in mind, my grandfather, I don't know why he said this. I have no idea, but as a young girl, I knew what it meant, and it doesn't even make sense in English, okay? He would say, not by a damn side. Now, if anybody's older and came from Germany or knows where he got this from, I don't know, but that was his expression, not by a damn side. And I knew when he said not by a damn side, the answer was no. And all my point was, is he knew his cost for those beans. And when somebody came up, he didn't say, oh, I think I could sell it to you. No, I don't think I could. He was like, not by a damn side. He knew his number.
He meant business. That is a universal language. He meant business.
He meant business. He knew his prices. He meant that. I love that. He meant business. And out of with my grandpa, that's the thing I remember the most, and my whole family were entrepreneurs. My father worked at the Ford plant, but they had a side business because he always got laid off, and it was storm doors and windows. I grew up on a town where I thought everybody had their small business. They had cows, chickens, they had tires changed, tractors fixed. It was a lovely upbringing. Anyway, Lauren, I'm going to pass this back to you. Big shout out to Randi. I just love having you on. Your energy is reality.
I love you. Thank you. Bye, Lauren. Oh, there you are.
Come see you.
Girl, I had 3 devices working on this thing trying to get on here.
But you made it.
I made it, and thank you for the message.
Lauren, we got to make sure if anybody wants to come visit Randi's store, do we have her address? Do we know?
Let's pop that in for sure.
Do you still have that? Or do I have to tell? It's 707 Los Angeles Street, right on the corner. Unique Textures Beauty Supply. It's where all the men's suits are. So, if there's anybody who likes the men's, come on down. There's a lot of eye candy down here.
Everybody that's in the area are going to be in the area. Go in and say hello to Randi. She will definitely make you smile. We got somebody saying they'll visit you, Randi. I mean, I can
come on.
Because when I'm done talking with her, I just feel happy and excited. And I hope you guys do as well. Well,
likewise.
So I want to say, everybody, thank you. Thank you to the frequent flyers. Thank you for everybody that tunes in. Another Small Biz Talk with your host, Lori Williams. Lauren, I'm going to let you close us down, and I will see everybody next week. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Randi. This was awesome. So good. Thank you.
Thank you, girl. Keep up the good work. Keep doing your thing.
Thank you. It's going to be several of us going to go see Randi in her shop.
Yeah, we can have a little party. Yeah, I have one thing.
There we go. Well, Randi, as well as everyone else, we will see you next week, Wednesday at 10 a.m., along with all the other frequent flyers for another episode of Small Biz Talk. Randi, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for joining us. We appreciate it. Take care.